Evening, everybody. How we doing? How we doing? Little spoiler alert. Hit a freaking 270 point banger today. Heck of a trade. Heck of a trade. And I'll try my best to go over my thought process for this trade. So, if we go back to right before market open, right? We have all this and the IB. Okay. So, what do we have coming into market open? If we zoom out, right? Right now, it looks like, actually, I'm gonna put this one away because it kind of gives away what price did. So, before market open, two things that I noticed. Well, few things actually, but for my context, the previous day's range stat was neutral because if you look at the daily chart, right? This daily candle, the Monday candle, didn't do anything to Friday's highs and lows. So the stat on that confluence is neutral. It didn't break either side, so there's no bias there. True day open was above us. Come over here, all right? True day open is above us, right here. I can actually do something like this, right? So we have this. True day open right here, and it was also up here on ES, and it wasn't traded through in London, so higher probability of us trading towards that. So yeah, that's what I had marked out. I also marked out, London high, Asia high. We displaced through Asia lows. We had a 1 hour FEG that we left kind of in the middle of, just in the middle of the range here. So like just looking at here to here, this is probably like equilibrium of the range or pretty dang near that. So that's kind of what I was seeing. And then I also noticed that we saw previous day's high in Asia and then just dumped. And I also saw that we were respecting this low volume node, which is also a 1 hour fair value gap. So I'm like, okay, we're respecting, a bearish confluence, a resistance zone, whatever you want to call it, right? So we're respecting all that. I'm gonna actually play some music really quick. There we go. And then I also noticed that pre-market, maybe like late London session, so like at around 6, we actually traded into this new week opening gap, sweeping that previous day's low, and we were respecting it. I'm like, okay, I just gotta wait and see if we bounce out of here, right? Because it is a new week opening gap. With these types of gaps, I consider it to be from where we close to where we open. The whole thing is the gap. Some people see it as just this, where whenever there's just no price action there, they consider that to be the gap. That's valid, but I prefer to be, a bit more cautious and just mark out the whole thing. But we could be aware of maybe this point in price. We'll mark it out as just end of NWOG. So I'm gonna give you an idea what I mean by the importance of having this marked out like that. So yeah, I saw it as either we can either fill in this gap fully, so all the way down to where we closed on Friday, potentially target that previous week's low. So I wanted to see if we rejected off of here, right? So I wanted to kind of see a resweep of that initial low, or if we could just continue to displace, got to retrace, and then continue to dump target that previous week's low. So I was pretty open to both sides, really. I had an idea of what I wanted to see for both, and I was just, waiting to see what happened. So now we can actually go into market open. So we can probably do something like this. Market open is actually right here. And when we open, you'll actually see that we had a pretty aggressive sell-off initially. And I'm saying this because if you measure the opening range, that's 200 points. That's a 200 point dump off open. That's the first 15 minutes. So, you see, we actually reached the end of that and walk as we marked it out initially. And we did a resweep of this low. So I'm like, cool. I see a lot of bearish momentum, and I actually show you what I mean by that really quick. Alright. So seeing a lot of aggressive selling here. And this ended up being my entry confluence. So down here, I think it was in the next candle, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I believe it was in this candle. I'm not entirely sure of where my entry was. I want to say it was in the process of the next few candles forming. I think it was here 9:45, and we can probably look at the time here to be more specific. So yeah, 9:45 is when you put in that low. We saw some failed selling here, failed selling. Saw a big buyer step in, and then we actually put in a low volume node here. So this right here, saw it as a low volume node. If we zoom in on the volume profile, you can see it's a low volume node for both the current chart range. So what I was looking at here, that's the low volume node there, and then just the session volume profile, it's low volume. So I'm like, all right, we displaced heavily to the downside. We're probably gonna trade towards previous week's low. We're probably gonna fill in this gap more. So let's see what we do, right? And I noticed we just displaced through it, and this is still low volume. We just had big buyers step in and displace through that. So I'm like, cool. I actually saw price retrace here. I'm like, no. I think I wasn't quick enough for this initial move. So I'm like, if we get a retrace, then I'm taking it. That's when I saw a retrace into that, put in a higher low, more failed selling, and our CVD also made a higher low. That was enough for me to enter. I can't exactly remember the time of my entry. I can probably look it up with, if I look at my execution here, it was, yeah, this is in 3 minute. So it was actually after this candle had formed. So it was somewhere around here. The exact entry, I'll get that in just a second. The exact entry over here, 479.25. So I think it was in the formation of this next candle. Jesus, okay. So 479, and then what's the next one? I'll probably just do this. 479.25. Same 49.75. And then my stop was at the swing low. So stop at the swing low. Entered, I think, somewhere in here. I know for sure it was during this candle forming. So yeah. Alright, so sorry about that. I had to take a quick take care of something really quick, but this was what we were looking at. Right? Gonna have this here. After seeing this 5-minute print, that's a 66 point move. Just this 5-minute candle closing. I immediately trailed. Oh, my apologies. Immediately trailed to this wick. Right? Then, more momentum. And I saw price, I think it was within this candle. Yeah. Saw price stalling here, and I think I went break even, if I'm not mistaken. 79.75, so I went to like think 80, 75 or something like that. Basically covering um, commissions. I think that's what I was trying to do initially, and yeah. Actually, at first, I was targeting New York Open High, but seeing this momentum, I'm like, there's no stopping these buyers, like at all. So I just extended to London High, and I will admit, I did get a bit too hype, with the momentum. So I got too hype with momentum, just seeing this play out so well. I was just, I got too hype. And I actually, at some point, I think I extended my TP to the point 0.6 extension of the IB. Um, Simply because it was um, a 5R. That was it. It was just a 5R, and I wanted to take that. And then I think I mentioned that to my mentor half in the middle of the trade, and then he's like, "That might be a bit too far," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "As long as your risk is managed, you should be fine. Have you taken partials?" I'm like, "No, I haven't." That's when I realized, okay, that's greed talking. Greed is making me make this decision. I should maybe just go back to where my original TP was. And this decision actually happened, I think, here. Yeah. I actually made this decision when we were this close to a London high. So, I did trail at some point, and we'll go over that in just a second. But, I think I noticed there was a big buyer, or big buyers, where this wick had formed. At this point, I'm marking the 1 hour IB. Because it's formed, we've already broken and hit extensions on the 45-minute IB. You can actually do this and do something like this. Yeah. So I was pretty comfortable. Sorry about that. Holding towards London High because it's right below the 0.1 extension. I could have held to True Day Open. There's a stat behind that. Well, I don't really need that. This is already a 4.59 RR. So, yeah. I think my exact entry, let me see if I can get this right. 24, 479, 25. Actually, that's my entry. Got it wrong by 3 ticks. 4.64R. Sorry. Yeah, because it was exactly 270 point move. But this just ended up hitting TP. So I ended up trailing here. When I saw this wick form, I trailed to here, and price was like 6 ticks away from my stop loss. Then I saw this candle printing. Once I printed, I trailed to there, and then TP hit. Bang. Breaking. Bang. Something I will note though, whenever you're holding trades for momentum, so if you're in a momentum trade and you're able to realize that soon, you can scale at a good RR and hold for big targets. So in this case, what I could have done, right, was aim for the IB break, or maybe scale at London High, scale at a fixed 2R, a fixed 3R, and then you just target True Day, which is all the way up here. And you gotta be a bit more loose with your stop loss. And I say that because you gotta give price room to, like, kind of, tell you this is where I'm headed. So like here, maybe after the high breaks is where you trail to here, right? Or maybe you were waiting for that, so you had your stop down here, you see the high break, right? Then you're like, okay, maybe I want to wait for the next candle. Okay. Alright. Okay, seeing more of a retrace. You might get stopped here. Okay. get recovery off of the same zone we rejected before. Alright, another retrace. I think we consolidated for a bit here because we were closing in on the time that Powell was going to speak at. See, another push, more rejection there, and then we get a final push here, right? So, seeing all that, seeing a strong push. Maybe you want to trail to here, right? You're getting a very strong push. Continue to push. We've reached a 1 hour FEG. Another thing with me in this specific case, this specific trade, is I only traded with 2 micros. So there's not a lot of opportunity for me to scale. If I scale, it's either half of my position or my full position. If I'm trading with 5 micros, 4, there's a bit more, flexibility there. I can scale 2, then I can scale another one, then another one, then I'm done. If it's 4, right? If it's 5, I can scale out 3, or maybe I want to scale out 2, then 2 more, and then the last one, or maybe 3, 1, 1, or 3 and then 2, right? So having 2 micros, I feel like that's another thing that kind of had a bit of an influence on my decision making, because scaling at London High and then letting it run, I realized I was being greedy at first. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna fully close at London High. I had already done my job trailing, and I didn't want to scale. I feel like I was also influenced because I knew a close estimate of how much I would make if I hit London High. So yeah, it was $1,000 day. So, and that's on eval too. So it's not even something that I can withdraw to my account. But it is what it is. Then we see what happens here. We hit the 0.3, see some rejection, see if we can see price recovering, see if we can break these highs, maybe scale, maybe, okay. Seeing that, maybe you want to trail to here, right? We broke the highs, or maybe you want to be a bit more patient. Maybe you want to trail to here, this body, right below, might be high, okay. Seeing a continued push, maybe you want to trail then. And then what happens? Okay, continued push. Oh, very close to your stop. Maybe you want to get tighter with your stop. Maybe you want to trail to like here. What happens here? TP hit. If you held this for true day, respect, bro. Because like holding this for 400 points, you would have had to hold this for almost 3 hours. Enter at 9:50 or somewhere around there, and exit at 12:40. Almost 3 freaking hours. That's crazy. So if you were able to pull that off, great job. Great job on patience. I'll say that. Me personally, I was done. I was done over here. So yeah, just a kind of quick recap, right? Defined that I was pretty neutral with my bias. I could see either side playing out. Waited to see something clear, which was failed selling. So, and I'll show this picture once more. Failed selling down here. Had a low volume node that we could respect to continue lower. Disrespected that. So this is still a low volume node. Some people see this as an inverse low volume node. I just saw this as a new bullish low volume node. Confirmed here, low volume, right? Saw failed selling, and then another retest, more failed selling, made a higher low on the CVD. Cool. That's my entry. That's perfect for me, right? So high time frame, new week opening gap. Medium time frames, so high time frames, it's a new week opening gap, sweep of previous day's low. Just bullish sentiment overall, recovering that scare that Trump gave us with the China news, kind of put that fire out on Monday. So yeah, if you think in terms of how would a long-term investor look at this, it's just another opportunity to buy the dip, right? So you want to join in with those big participants, and the new week opening gap is a great opportunity to do so. Then medium time frame, resweep of the initial low, value area low of the session. Underneath all our VWAP, so we could rebalance to that as well. And I also saw, I forgot to mention this, we had a 5-minute gap here and here. So we had two 5-minute gaps that we could rebalance to. And I think I actually went trailed to my stop when we reached the first one with a strong candle. And then when we stalled inside the second one, that's when I made my second adjustment. So yeah, and we can actually go over my execution really quick. So here we've gotten the resweep. That's where we saw our failed selling or our confluences. I scaled down to the 3-minute because the 5-minute didn't look clear. I was just looking at a single candle. But yeah, you see, I immediately trailed my stop. I already mitigated most of my risk. Then we saw price stall out there, trail to break even, right? I think my next adjustment, okay, my next adjustment was when we were hitting extensions. Saw a lot of momentum, right? And then I think I was just comfortable trailing to the next 5-minute candle, continued to trail as I got more and more comfortable with trailing. And then I think at a certain point I realized that's a 1-hour IB, broke it, so trailed there. So I had a lot of trailing, right? You could see like my stop going up from like break even to in profit, in profit, in profit, and in profit. And then this is where the key moment comes in. I saw a lot of heavy buyers in that wick that pushed price up. So I wanted to see it reject that. That's what we ended up seeing, and that's when I trailed. And I was shocked. You'll see an emoji here in a second because that was 6 ticks. 6 freaking ticks off of my stop loss. And then this candle printed. It was also the 11 a.m. open candle. 6 ticks off my stop, like I noted there. And then I think the next candle is the one that got me out. So this closes, and the next one gets me out. Oh, there we go. Happy face. Yeah. So that pretty much sums it up. Pretty straightforward trade. The only thing that you might be like, oh, but you didn't have a lot of medium time frame confluences. Yeah, but it's just a very strong sentiment. I think the lower time frame confluences were pretty clear. So the resweep of the initial low was pretty solid for me. Obviously, if we have a lower VWAP band or overnight VWAP aligning, be better, maybe a bit better. So yeah, I feel like one thing that I could have done better was just emotional management, just be more calm when seeing that strong momentum. That just means I did a good job and I'm getting rewarded for it, and I should stay more calm when it comes to that. So that's pretty much all I can say about that. So yeah, that's actually what I noted in my thing here. So I extended my TP to the 0.6 extension of 45-minute IB simply because it was 5R. Realized the lack of logic in this and readjusted it to London High. Even though it was a banger trade, I still need to keep my emotions in check. Overall, great trade, but I noticed my greed showed today. So back to basics we go. Great trade, on to the next. Gotta keep up the consistency, keep up the good work. So yeah, that pretty much sums up today's trade review. And as I mentioned in the last one, I said I was hoping to see you guys back again with a banger trade. Here it is. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.